Welcome back to Views with Hughes and Jennifer News. This is Jerome Hughes, and we're going to go ahead and get right into the story with Woke Marvel and the Critical Drinker. All right, so as y'all know, the Marvel Studios, or the MCU as we call it, has been undergoing a lot of bad troubles thanks to Kevin Feige as well as Bob Iger. Okay. So here's the deal. We're diving into this video breaking down the impact of Critical Drink and how other YouTube critics like Nerdrotic, Valiant Renegade, WDW Pro, and others have been shaking things up at big time. First bit was all like, we can learn about the lessons about the movie biz, how we can take voices, all right? And then like Critical Drinker, he's gotten Disney to really switch gears, okay? And we're going to see how Critical Drinker threw down some rock solid points against the MCU, pulling in a huge crowd of fans. Okay, so this led to a big shakeup of how much dough the recent MCU flicks made. Okay, since folks seem to be preferring to checking out the Critical Drinkers takes on YouTube over shelling out cash for a movie that might just end up being a total flop. And let's be honest, it's been happening a lot lately. Okay, so you might think I'm just here to toot my own horn, claiming I'm some sort of big shot movie critic here, but of course I've had my moments, but the story got a funny side too. Certainly Disney's axing a bunch of MCU projects and going back to the drawing board. Okay, it's pretty clear that they're tuning into what the Critical Drinker and others are saying, because honestly, they have, they don't have much of a choice, and they risk going belly up if they don't. Looking at how many people are nodding along with these critiques, and it's obvious that most fans are on the same page if Disney decides to ignore voices like the Critical Drinker, especially basically turning their backs on the very audience that they're trying to impress. Okay, so basically the first big thing the guys at Disney and Marvel picked up from the Critical Drinker was that realizing they can't act like they're smarter than us, the audience, okay, the consumers, the core audiences that left them. Okay, it felt like Marvel was on the slippery slope where they thought they could just mess with our heads and making us like whatever characters or movies they shoved in front of us without actually giving us good stories to get behind these characters. Okay, and then when we didn't just roll over and take it, suddenly we were labeled the bad guys, calling us toxic and every instant forbidden book. Okay, they even tried pulling out fast ones out on us, but none of that worked out. And then you got the Critical Drinker racking up millions of views and stuff just by calling them out on their nonsense. Now this really showed a lot of us that we weren't alone in feeling ticked off about these new movies and characters. Okay, it kind of rallied the MCU fans all together, giving us a space to vent and talk things through online, which really cranked up the heat on Disney and Marvel. All right, and they had to finally face the music that a ton of people were fed up with their tricks and weren't buying what they were selling anymore. Okay, now they had to come to terms with the fact that they are not above their audience, but they're supposed to be making the stories that we actually want to see and want to spend money on. Now they're not supposed to dictate what we should like or try to manipulate us. Now the backlash was so loud that the Disney CEO Bob Iger even came out to say sorry and admitted that they needed to focus on storytelling rather than pushing messages. Now, honestly, you'd have to be pretty naive to think that they changed their tune if the cash was still flowing in. If these movies were still making a killing at the box office, they wouldn't bother changing a thing. Okay, but the truth is the money stopped rolling in, so now they're scrambling to make things right, and it's all because the Critical Drinker and other YouTubers like Nerdrotic, WDW Pro, Valiant Renegade, and others put the spotlight on them. So another thing that the Critical Drinker did for the Marvel movies was pretty much bust the whole toxic fan myth wide open. You know how it's been real super easy lately for Disney, Marvel, and all those other big movie places to slap the label of toxic or bigoted on anyone who don't like this stuff. Y'all remember that, right? Well, when you got these same so-called toxic critics giving thumbs up to actually good movies, it's pretty clear that they're just being straight up with their opinions, all right? They're not scared to say a movie is bad and if it's really bad. And I also reckon people are starting to catch on to this. And most folks complaining about the new Marvel movies aren't being hateful. They're just disappointed because the stories are kind of lacking, if you will. Okay, so And also, y'all remember when everyone loved Marvel for characters like Scarlet Witch or Black Widow? And these movies did well because the stories were solid. Okay, but now things are shifting. Suddenly, it's almost trendy to call out the bad ones. Even saw someone at the Oscars cracking jokes about a Marvel movie. And it's not just there. You've got also news outlets and industry insiders saying Marvel's got to shake things up because what they're doing ain't working. All right. It's not about being bigoted or toxic. It's just movie fans are being honest about what's going on with the blockbusters these days. A lot of this change in the air is thanks to folks like the Critical Drinker and their big followings. OK, they're not afraid to praise a great movie like Godzilla Godzilla -1 from Japan that had a small budget but had a lot of great reviews all around, including from Critical Drinker himself. So no, they're not full of hate. They're just calling it as they see it, giving constructive feedback to help make movies better. And that's it. And it looks like this whole toxic fan argument is losing steam, all thanks to the voices like the Critical Drinkers leading the charge. So here's the thing. Now, I really do believe that MCU is going to turn things around as if Kevin Feige's going or if he's actually going to listen up. And maybe I'm just being hopeful, but stick with me. The Critical Drinker has been calling out Marvel for ages. Honestly, he's hit them where it hurts, their wallet, just like many customers have, myself included. They've lost a ton of cash because of how he's laid into their recent stuff, but it looks like they're waking up and making some big changes for the better. Now, for example, Deadpool 3, all right, the trailer's been out and it's got everyone buzzing because it looks like they've nailed it. Keyword, looks like it. All right, and then there's the Marvels. People actually like Miss Marvel, and she's cool and everything, but they can't really say the same thing for Captain Marvel herself. All right. And or even, you know, Monica Rambeau. But it does show that when you focus on making solid characters and stories, people will actually notice. Now, they're saying they're going to keep focusing on that character and story over everything else, including woke politics. All right. They even fired a bunch of they even canceled a bunch of MCU films that maybe weren't even up to the snuff. In other words, the movies that flopped in theaters and shows that didn't bring in good ratings. The Disney CEO has been out there saying that they're about entertaining us and putting good stories first. If Bob Iger actually stuck with that, then we wouldn't be in this particular predicament. But if they actually stick to this plan, I think they should be able to start making bank again, big time. And it's also pretty clear how much impact fans and critics online can have now. The Critical Drinker has been a huge part of pushing for that change. And you know what? Guess what? It's up to all of us. All right. We shouldn't give up on providing honest opinions and honest thoughts about these films. If we don't like the movie, we have the right to explain why we don't have them like the movie without backlash. Okay. We have that right. Freedom of speech right. I know this isn't like freedom of speech is to keep the government away from keeping us from speaking out freely and everything. But we have that particular freedom to go ahead and speak out on the movies that we dislike. And we also have the right to speak out on saying that it needs to be better. Okay. Even if it means to replace Kevin Feige. Okay. He's this way. Okay. But the fact of the matter is, we have the right to speak out on these things and they shouldn't be hindered, especially if we're your core customers. So let me know your thoughts about this in the comments below. Also, be sure to include any additional thoughts that you have on this particular topic. If you enjoyed what I shared in this video, go ahead, smash the like button, share far wide across social media. And if you haven't done so already, you enjoyed all the content I put out there, go ahead, subscribe to the channel, click the bell notification so that way you'll be notified of future uploads and updates. Until then, peace.